everybody. It's 3 o'clock. That I know didn't give you time to do much of anything, and I apologize, but we did lose some time there. Before we start again, are there any questions on what we've shown you so far? I know it's a lot of technical stuff that may be a lot to take in, and you'll want to go and watch the replay. But are there any questions about what we've done or about anything else that we've covered in the last several weeks?
Danny, I have a question. This is Maureen. I actually have two questions. One,
Okay.
have moved photos off the card and discarded them. What about saving? What do you do as far as saving them on another disk or however you do that?
You there, Cindy?
Yeah.
Cindy was going to talk actually about her backup strategy.
Okay.
And I think that will answer your question in pretty good detail.
Okay, good. And also, I just had one question. When my daughter uses Photo Booth on her Mac, and tried to send me some of those pictures to my PC, and she kept getting an error message. So we didn't know how to do that either.
Okay, neither Cindy or I uses a Mac. What kind of error did you get?
You know, I'm not sure. She didn't remember, but she tried several times, and it wasn't doable.
Okay.
So what would you suggest as far as finding out? You know, what would we search for to find out if that can be done?
Well, you might want to copy down the actual error message and then just copy that into Google and search on that particular message.
Yes.
If you search on the actual message, you'll probably have better luck finding other people who've done it. The other thing is maybe she would have more luck saving it in a different format. Like if she's saving it on her computer as a TIFF, try the Save As command and save it as a JPEG, which is a more compressed format, and she may be able to email it to you that way as an email attachment. And again, later in this half hour, Cindy's going to talk about ways of sharing photos online, and hopefully that'll give you some more ideas for how to do that as well.
Right. Thanks.
Anybody else? Can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I've been muting and unmuting people. So let's get back. I'm going to show you a little demonstration of the text tool and a little more we can do with that. And then Cindy's got some stuff to talk about in terms of sharing and saving your pictures and protecting your art. So I have to take my friend Shamu off. I just left that picture. Have to take this off. So this is another technique that you may be able to use with your online selling. This could work if you're selling on the web through a web store or on a blog. It's probably not the very best thing for an eBay listing, although you might be able to use it to make a banner or buttons or something for your eBay store. So what we're going to do is look at some of the fancy things you can do with your text tool. Now, we're going to pretend that you sell kids' athletic wear. And so we have a picture here of some preschool girls playing soccer. Now, Cindy showed us ways that you can use the text tool with its presets to get some pretty fancy text and put it beside an item. I'm going to show you ways to actually turn your item into the filling of the text. So here's our picture. The first thing I'm going to do is promote it from a background to a layer because I'm going to want to change its position in the layers palette later. And if it's a background, it's always the first layer. So I don't want that. I'm just going to do that now. And I'm coming over to my text tool. And everything I've shown you today, by the way, with Shamu and with this and what Cindy did with RAW and all of that, It doesn't matter which version of Elements you're on. You can do this with any version of Elements. So don't worry about that. So I've got my text tool. I've set my text to, it looks like a tan color. I'm going to make it white so it shows up. The color of your text doesn't really matter. This is just trying to make it visible. And I'm going to write the word soccer. Use my Move tool to select it and get it where I want it. It's too big for what I want to do, so I'm going to try bringing it down to like about maybe 90 pixels. Okay, now I've got it over these little girls. I'm going to change the size of it a little bit by making it taller, a little bit taller. And I've picked Impact as my font, not because I especially like this font, which I don't, but because I want a fat one, because we're going to fill the inside here. So I want to make sure that we have a font that actually will work with showing something inside. A really thin font doesn't do well for this technique. Okay, so I've got my font, and I'm going to make it faux bold. So now we've got a layer with text and our original layer. I'm going to create one more layer, and I'm just going to fill it with white. I'm going to take white as my foreground, so I'm just going to dump it on here. Now I'm going to change the order on these almost completely. I'm going to pull the plain white layer to the bottom, and I'm going to pull the picture layer to the top. So you can't see the text, you don't see the white, you just see the picture. We're going to do something that's called creating a clipping group. And you can do this several ways. The way I normally do it is hold my Alt key and move my cursor between the two rows I'm going to clip. And you see how the cursor changes from the hand to that funny icon? I don't even know what that's an icon of. You can do the same thing with the shortcut Control-G or Command-G if you have a Mac. Or you can go up to Layers and Group with Previous. So I'm going to clip here, and voila, we've already created this white background, text layer, and the photo is clipped to show only the text. Now, because we're working in layers, we've got some advantages. If I go down here to the text layer, I can move it around. So if I didn't position it to exactly where I thought it would look best with these little girls, I can still work with it and make it show so that the kids show to best advantage. Like, I don't like the way I'm cutting that little girl's head off. So there's that, and I say, okay. Now, because it's a layer, I can also come up here to my Layers palette and pick a drop shadow, and I'm going to pick Soft Edge and apply. And you'll notice now this is popping out more from the background already. It's getting some dimension to it. And I'm going to actually put a bevel on too. This isn't necessary, but I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to pick Simple Inner and apply. And you'll notice we now have this thing that looks a lot like a three-dimensional text. I'm going to trim it down so it's just the size I need for what I'm doing. And because these are separate layers, I can still come up here to the top layer if I haven't gotten what I want, and I can move the photo. The soccer thing stays right where it was before, but now I can move the photo around. If I still can't make people go the way I want them to, I can change the text. And if we come back later and I've stopped selling soccer, I'm now selling baseball, girls softball, it's just a simple text layer. All I have to do on it is change it so that you can come back and use the same setup over and over and over again. I can change the picture, I can change the text, I can change anything. And you have a pretty nice, interesting way of making a headline for a category or again, for scrapbooking. And of course, You don't have to leave it in one area, and you can turn it a bit if you think that'll make it more interesting. You can give it a bit of an angle and do just about anything you want with it. So that's another way you can use your text tool to make some very interesting text in Photoshop Elements by filling in the letters with the photograph illustrating what you're talking about. So Cindy, I'm going to turn it back to you, if I can find out how, and you can show us how to share and save our pictures.
Okay. Wasn't that magic?
Nope.
I think Photoshop Elements is pretty magical, don't you? It's amazing what we can do. Well, we'll open it up again here for questions in a few minutes to kind of wrap it up. But I wanted to cover a few questions that we did have and talk to you a little bit about saving your photographs. So the one thing I want to say is that once you have your, close my box there, once you have your picture ready to share, either you fixed it up as a, like Danny just did with that wonderful text tool, or you've just got a straight picture that was camera raw, and now you're ready to share it with the world, you're going to want to save it in probably one of two formats. Now, there are a lot of other formats that you can save it in, but in general, the first thing you want to do is if it was a picture with lots of layers, and you wanted to come back later, like with Danny's example there where she changed it from soccer to softball, you're going to want to save it in what's called the PSD file, which is the file that allows all those layers to stay intact. So you can come back later and fix up the text only. But PSD is not a file that is necessarily recognized out on the web or as a file that your printer, who's going to make a picture out of it, is going to recognize. So after you save the PSD file, you're then going to want to save it into another format that is usable on the web or with your printer. So what you would do is you would go to File and Save As, and you'll see that this file is already is saved as a JPEG. But if I wanted to save it as a different file format, there is a drop-down menu here. Now, I would save it as a JPEG when I want to share this picture on the web. So if I'm going to email it to somebody, I'm going to put it on a website, I'm going to use it for an eBay listing, generally what you will do is save it as a JPEG. However, when you want to print out the picture on a physical piece of paper and you want to make an enlargement of it, let's say these are your once-in-a-lifetime vacation pictures, or your daughter's wedding, or those kind of pictures that you want prints of, you would want to save it as a TIFF, T-I-F-F. A TIFF, won't compress any of the information. It saves everything in perfect order, and it makes a sharper, cleaner picture when it is printed. So for printing, I would go with saving it as a TIFF. For most all web applications, it's JPEG, and that's JPEG. So that's how you would save it. Now, one other thing I want to say about saving your picture is that if you are going to email this picture or you're going to, post it on a website, you're probably going to want to make it smaller instead of sending somebody the full-size image, because I'm sure everybody here has gotten one of those images where you've got an email from somebody and you get this picture that you have to scroll up and down and side to side, and the only thing you're seeing is somebody's nose. So you don't want that to happen with your pictures because people lose a lot of the information. You want to make it smaller so that when somebody opens up that email, they can see the whole picture. So to do that, before you save, you would go up to this image, and you go up to Resize Image Size. Now this one is 1,000 pixels by 819 pixels high. Now that's not a bad size, but for emailing, for eBay and the like, I usually go about 600. And I want to make sure that I have this check mark clicked here that says Constrained Proportions. And if I do that, this program will do the math for me and make sure that I get the right height for that matches this width for this image, so it doesn't get all skewed into some distorted looking thing. Now, I had a question earlier this week from Hans, who was wondering if he had a small picture and he wanted to enlarge it. How do you go about doing that? In other words, a picture that's already 600 by 480, and he wants to make it into 1,200 or larger. Well, first off, what I want to say is, whenever possible, try not to get yourself into that situation, because enlarging or upsampling a photograph, especially a JPEG, is almost always, 99% of the time, it's going to result in a real poor resolution, pixelated image, and it's kind of fuzzy and has lots of jagged edges, or jaggies, the technical name they use in digital photography. So if you can prevent that, if you can avoid that by getting the original image, that would be preferable. But sometimes you just end up where you have to enlarge something. So if that's the case, there is this resample image. And what the experts suggest, when you upsample or make a small image bigger, the one that you want to use is bicubic smoother. However, I would imagine if I was doing this, I would try all of these different these resampling images types to see which one would give me the better result. It probably will be bicubic smoother, but I would try them all, because any small difference is going to make make it much nicer to look at. But for the rest of us, we don't have to worry about messing around with all this nearest neighbor, bicubic, all that stuff. Just accept the defaults when we're resizing the image. So I wanted to address that. And then one more thing. Well, I've got two more things, but before I head off to the internet, I wanted to talk a little bit about what to do or how I save my images. Now, it would be terrible to have a computer crash and lose all of my images. So I do back up my pictures on a My Book external hard drive. It just attaches to my USB port on my computer, and I just do a backup. When that one fills up, I can get another one. They're small, portable hard drives, and they fit nicely on my shelf. They're about the size of a paperback book. So other photographers use what's called a passport. Very same thing, except for they are smaller. And because they are smaller, they're a little bit more expensive, because the idea is they were designed for photographers who do a lot of traveling, so that you could back up your images on a small portable hard drive as you're traveling. So generally what I do is I back it up onto a My Book hard drive. Now, it doesn't really matter if you are, intimidated by that. Then, go ahead and burn your files to a CD, or even use a USB key. It's not my favorite solution for a couple of reasons. CDs, we're finding, we thought they lasted forever, but they do have a shelf life, depending on how they're stored. You want to keep them in a cool, dry place. And if you are using CDs, be sure and buy the more expensive archival variety. The other thing, USB keys are great, except for I'm always losing mine, but they do have a large capacity. So those are two ways that I would suggest that you you back up your files. Now, the other thing that I wanted to address was about the Mac to PC connection and the error message. And again, I don't really know because I don't know what the error message is, but my suggestion would be to, like Danny said, save it as a JPEG, ask her to save it as a JPEG. And it is possible, too, that the error message is because the file is so large. And I would try having her reduce the file size before she tries to transfer it over to you, because that's another reason why you might be getting an error message. So say, have her reduce the file size. And if that doesn't work, there are a couple of sites that I wanted to mention for sharing your photos so that either one of you can have access to them, or for everybody, actually. SmugMug is one really fun site. You can upload your pictures. It is a subscription-based service, but it allows you to not only share your pictures with others. There is a component of it where you can back up your pictures. So instead of getting that Western digital hard drive or MyBook, you can transfer your pictures over to SmugMug, and they will back them up for you. As the name, it's got kind of a funny name, SmugMug. The idea was that you could print your pictures on mugs and Christmas cards and T-shirts, and you can make regular reprints. Once you upload these pictures, you can make photo books as well. You can all do it from this SmugMug service. It's a fun, nice little service. You even get a pre-made template where you can set up a photo sharing site where you can, invite your friends and family to come see those pictures like a website. There is another service, now that you are familiar with Photoshop elements, that you may want to check out. It gives you 2 gigs of storage space for free. It's got some of the elements of some of the photo editing elements that you can do right online once you upload your picture. Joining is free, but you can also share your pictures from computer. So your daughter could put the pictures up here, and you could pull them down from the web, so you can share them that way as well. Another way to back up some of your photos by having them online. So SmugMug, that's Adobe Photoshop Express, and it is at www.photoshop.com/express. Excuse me. One of my favorites is Flickr. Flickr is a community of people who love to share photos. And you can get a free account. It's a Yahoo property, so if you have a Yahoo account, it takes just half a second to sign up for Flickr. If you don't have a Yahoo account, it asks you to create a Yahoo account, and then you have a Flickr account. Once you have a Flickr account, you can share pictures as well. You can make these pictures private so that only are only seen by people that you want to show them to. There are some privacy settings where you can make them public. But you can also share these pictures across the web as well. So let's say this was a picture that you wanted to, your daughter uploaded, and you wanted to download so that you could have it on your computer. Once it's uploaded, you have the address where the photo is. You can come up here, and right above the photo, you'll see this little magnifying glass that says all sizes. If you click on that, it allows you to download these pictures onto your computer. Square, a small square, thumbnail, the original size, a large size. If you were going to print it out, you probably want the original. If you're going to share it with other people, if you're going to email it, you probably want a medium size. So you pick the medium size. See, that's a really good size to, email. And then I could just download this medium-sized print and save it, and it will take me right into my pictures where I could just save it to my pictures. Simple as that. So those are some of the sites that are my favorites to use for, storing and sharing my photographs on the web. I do want to remind you that we will have the Element site up. We'll have the replay of this class up, within a few days. And we'll have the whole site up for 30 days. At this point, I'm going to turn this back over to Danny. She's got a couple last things to say, and then we'll open it up for questions to everybody. So change presenters and let Danny have, oh, she's got it for him. She's already got it.
Okay. I just want to remind people, did I unmute myself? Yes. I just want to remind everyone, Cindy has showed you the real way to do the photo sharing and saving and emailing, but some of that is built right into Photoshop with these tools up at the top. Learn to do it with all the steps that she just showed you, so you're in complete control of what you have in case you're trying to do something and you don't have Photoshop to make it easy on you. But if you wanted to come along and you thought this was just as cool as I do and you want to email it, don't forget you can come up here to the email button and you can choose these kind of choices to share it or to email it. And Photoshop will actually, I should have had my organizer open. It takes a while on this computer. It will load your email program, resize the photo, and attach it to your email for you, basically. So it doesn't give you a whole lot of choice in what you can do, but Photoshop will do a lot of the work for you, as well as making it easier to share it on the web, or days from now we'll be able to continue on. Share it on the web or print it. Okay, and you can see we can just take this picture now. We can put it in a format as an attachment and choose the size that'll be best for sharing, as well as choosing the quality of the print, which will, again, you can see down here the estimated size of the attachment and how long with a modem it would take someone to download it. We'll leave a little message and it'll just attach it to your email. You can do the same sort of thing with the sharing buttons. You can order prints online. Sharing buttons were down here, sending to SmugMug and to Flickr. You can order prints online from Kodak, and of course you can send it to your printer. So I just want to point out these shortcuts. They take the power away from you, but sometimes you don't have the time to actually do the work yourself. So that's what we have for you. We're really honored to have been able to give this class and to have you all come. And I'd like to make sure I can unmute everybody here and open it up once again for questions. Anything at all about Photoshop that we've covered, or questions about things we may not have covered. So ask away.
I have a question about actually printing. I have, a couple printers that are supposed to print the photos, but it just seems with all the options and the inexpensive way to get them printed that maybe it's not worth the hassle. And I'd just like to get your thoughts on that.
Maureen, you hit the nail on the head. I used to enjoy printing them out on my printer. Two things have made me go back to sending them out. Cost of ink.
Yeah.
And, you can just send them to just about any lab, and either they'll mail them back to you, or, if you've got a Costco, you can upload them to Costco and go pick them up the next time you're at Costco. And the cost of having them printed is next to nothing, and especially online. If you use a service like I'll put up some links on the blog, but Shutterstock or Kodak or some of those, they have some great sales where it's like, to get you interested, they'll give you 100 free reprints to just join the service. So I've gone back to allowing having my prints done at a photo printer instead of doing them at home.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Well, if you do, like we said, we'll have the Photoshop Elements blog up for 30 days. Just leave a question in the comments, and Danny and I will answer them for you. And do come back by and watch the replays, and hopefully I'll be seeing lots of eBay photos with Shamu popping out of them.
Also, I want to encourage you, if you do any of this stuff and you make some pictures that you really like, whether they're for eBay or for your own use, share with your family photos, whatever. If you really like them, send them to us so that Cindy can share them on her Photo Box blog, and we can get you a little publicity if they're going on to your sales page or something. We'd like to help publicize your photography as well. So take advantage of the extra oomph you can get by having us help publicize your auctions or your sales by sharing your photos with Cindy through your Photo Walks blog.
Okay. One last chance. If not, we'll say goodbye. And I really appreciate you all hanging in there with us for the last 3 weeks, and I hope you're all out there fixing up your photos and with Photoshop Elements. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.